And I say, you don't need holy wine to represent blood. Just use real blood.
Right.
It was good enough for them. It's good enough for me.
Yeah. I mean, you have the body there. It's still warm. You might as well use it, because otherwise it's just going to coagulate, and it's going to make the body heavier for when you have to remove it to bury it later. So you're really doing yourself a favor.
Exactly. When I got into Satanism, you use the whole body. Nothing goes to waste. That's what I don't agree with the modern Satanists. They're so wasteful.
Right, right. And I don't know. I mean, have you noticed, doesn't it seem like virgin bodies weigh less than non-virgin bodies? Or is that just me?
I don't know, because, you know, they always say they're virgin, and then you sacrifice them, and it doesn't work. So
Yeah, yeah. And then you found out, wow, you know what? They weren't actually a virgin.
Yeah.
Well, I think we still got a couple more minutes before we go. Oh shit, we're live. We're live.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Uh,
That's gonna.
Disregard everything we just said.
I don't know. Sorry, I got to go. I gotta go. So
We've been found out.
right.
Screw it. I'm gonna turn my camera on. All right. Okay. So let's see who we got in the house. We got Comedic. Hey, Comedic Witch, how's it going? We got Leon. Hey, Leon, what's happening? And I am Trash. Hey, what's up, Trash?
Oh, wow.
So all right. So we're rotating. Like, one of us will be out each episode. So last week I was out. This week Loki's out. So maybe next week Dorian will take the day off, and then we'll have it out of our system, and then we'll be good. Then we'll all be together again. It's like a rotating vacation for news anchors.
That doesn't sound too bad. You know, I'll put my feet up, I'll play some Call of Duty, and I'll just be like, oh, I wonder what the good old gang is up to. And
yeah, I mean, last week, I'll be honest, I just didn't feel like doing the show. I was just like burned out. I had too much to do, and I was like, I don't want to fucking do the show. So,
well, you know, it was actually a big blast having her on, or guest, Comedic Witch.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, and hopefully I didn't annoy her boyfriend. I'm not sure if you were there for that part, but
no, I caught like maybe I caught a part of it, and then I had to leave, but I missed that part. So what did you do, Dorian? Do we have to make like a public apology or anything?
I might have to go to HR. You know,
is there going to be money and lawyers involved?
Well, I don't get paid for this anyway, so I'm not sure what they can take.
Do we have to call a lawyer?
You can take all my Canadian pennies. So
we don't want your fucking Canadian pennies. Nothing we can do with Canadian pennies here in America.
All right, so we got some say.
Don't try to change the subject. What did you do?
So she started calling her boyfriend hubby on stream. So then I started calling out her boyfriend hubby and stuff like that. I was like, hey, hubby. What's up, hubby?
And then Zabora's like, wait a second. Why are you calling him hubby? What's going on? Does he walk down both sides of the street? Do I not know about that?
I don't know. I was just giving the guests a good old friendly fun time. So
yeah. Well, that sounds pretty innocent. Doesn't sound too bad. Let's see. Oh, and Witchy Jim's in the house. Hey, Witchy Jim, Kawaii's Witch.
How you doing, Luna?
And Luna's in the house. Cool, cool. We got the usual peeps.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. Yep. So, so let's see. What do we want to talk about? Some stuff that's been going on lately, or jump right into the video?
Well, I'm going to sell it myself a little bit. I started a new segment on my YouTube channel today. Yeah. Sell it moment. And there we go. I think we're up to date.
You could sell it a little more than that. I mean, what's it about?
Well, in my research, I find videos, and I'm not sure what I want to do with them. If I want to make them in a full-blown series or just go into them more. So I created this segment called Dorian J Uncut, where I kind of do a little one-off. And if you guys like it, I do more. If not, then it's just that. It's just a one-off. You guys get 2 videos a week instead of 1. And I get to laugh a little bit more at crazy, racist, religious nut jobs. So.
And he's doing a video on the Nation of Islam, which is like they're the equivalent, in my opinion, of the black KKK. They're just incredibly racist.
Oh, they are. They're the ones that refer to white people as white creatures, how we are doomed to become their servants, and God's coming to wipe us out. So.
Yep. Yeah, they call them white devils, and they think that the Jews are running everything.
Oh, it's crazy. It's
man, I feel so sorry for Jewish people. Everybody hates them. Everybody dumps on them, throws conspiracy theories. I mean, it's like they can't cut a break from any other group. It's like whites, racist white groups hate them. Racist black groups hate them. Racist Muslim groups hate them. I mean, they can't get a break.
It's crazy, though. There's even people who consider themselves the real Jews, the real black Jews, hating on them, and it's just like, what's going on?
Man, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. That's just, but yeah. I mean, I watched that video. It's only like 7 minutes long, but man, it just reminded me of my days, because there was a bakery in Oakland that was run by the Nation of Islam. That for whatever reason, my mom always wanted to go in there and get something from them. I guess she was trying to kind of like alleviate her white guilt or whatever, but they were just horrible people. And I remember going in there with her a couple of times, and it was just like the way it was just a vibe you just got in that place. It's just oppressive.
All right, do you want to hear something really funny? Really freaking funny?
No, I don't want to hear it.
All right, I don't care.
Nobody
anyway,
wants to.
Do you guys remember that I made a video about the woke Halloween 666, and there's a guy named Young Pharaoh who said that Halloween was made by the white man to stop black people from ascending to the 4th dimension? Mm-hmm. He bought a shop recently for black businessmen, and he doesn't know what he's going to do with it yet.
Huh? What? Can you repeat that?
He bought a shop for black businessmen, but he doesn't know what he's going to do with it yet.
Okay.
So the guy invested all this money into a shop for black people, but he has no business plan. He doesn't know where he's going with it. And it's just right now sitting empty.
Well, I mean, pretty much white people in a sense did invent Halloween, but
I'm sorry. It just, when you said that with the whole Nation of Islam opening up a shop, I thought of another racist, religious nut job guy buying a shop for pretty much the same reason. So.
Yeah, I mean this place was the money all went to the Nation of Islam. You know, there's nothing but women working there, and you know, it was just a front. I mean, the whole Nation of Islam is also wrapped up in gang activity, and especially in Oakland. So,
well, I'm not sure what I can say without being more sellout-y and promoting my own content. So,
now, do you release these videos on a regular schedule, or is it just kind of like whenever?
Well, now that I'm doing 2 videos a week, I'm going to be releasing them on a set schedule. Like normally I was releasing all my videos on a Tuesday night to Wednesday morning. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to go to more of a Monday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday kind of schedule. So that way I'll have Sunday Heathen Haven, Tuesday my normal video, like normal videos, and have Thursday as my Dorian J Uncut. So technically I'd be on a 3 video cycle a week. Because I'm still pretty small right now. I don't want to bombard myself and then just stop making videos in general. So
yeah, well, 3 videos a week is a lot. I mean, at least it is for me to pump out 3 videos a week. You know, I mean, because none of us really do this full time. You know, we have lives outside of it. But I mean, I think one video a week is a lot for me, but like even 2 or 3 videos every week is a lot.
Oh yeah, especially when you're starting off. Like, I'll be more than happy to give anybody out here tips and stuff like that. But when you're editing, I've gone to my editing stage and disliked all my stuff I made and started over from scratch. I've done that multiple times. It is frustrating sometimes, and you do become your biggest critic. You hurt yourself mentally trying to put it together, and then you ask people for brutal honesty, and then you eventually start to grow and it gets easier. But it is actually a lot of work, a lot more than I thought starting off.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I'll download stuff that I think I'm going to do a video on, and then I never do it. And then there's times where I'll like create a whole folder and all the resources for it, and you know, maybe even record the audio for it and all that. And I'll put it in the folder and it'll just sit there because I'll get something else, and so I'll get distracted by something else. So I have like, I kind of went back and I started like flagging all those folders so I can remember like, okay, I got to work on this one. I got to work on that one. I got to work on this one. I actually got to do it. But I don't know, for some reason, just sometimes the motivation is just not there.
But here's the weird part.
The worst thing.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. All right, so the weird part is, for my channel trailer, I couldn't sleep one night. And I was like, you know what? I got an idea. And for sometimes you just get ideas and it comes together in one night. It is so weird. Like sometimes you're laying down, pops into your head, you can pop it off and you can relax. It's really strange.
You know what I'll do sometimes is like when I get to that when I get to a point where I'm just like I'm blocked, I'm just like nothing's coming out, or I feel like, you know, like nothing's going on, is I'll either take a walk, like just walk around and just, you know, try to clear my mind of stuff and then come back to it. Or the other thing is I'll think about it the night before I go to sleep, and when I'm sleeping, whatever my subconscious or whatever will work on it, then I'll wake up the next morning and get back on the computer and start doing stuff. So yeah, I've done that too, and it works, you know.
The one thing I found being a YouTuber now is I have a notepad by my bed. I have a notepad in my work bag. I have a notepad in my work pants and stuff like that. Like, you never know when it's going to strike, and you always want to make sure you have a notepad on you.
I'm not that sophisticated yet. Sometimes I'll like sit there and I'll record the video and I'll start like editing it, you know, and I have to go through and I'm editing it and everything. And then I'll get like 10 minutes into it and I'm watching it, I'm like, this fucking sucks. Scrap. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm like watching a video and I don't like it, I don't think anybody else will like it either. But sometimes I'll admit I have done it. I've gone through, I've like edited a video towards the end. I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But I put it up anyway. I'm like, screw it. They're gonna fucking watch this. Fuck it. You know?
Well, there was one day I spent an hour and a half like shooting different scenes and stuff like that. Well, I call them scenes, but different parts of my video. I go to edit. I'm on my final scene. I go to rewatch everything, and I'm just like, oh fuck, I hate everything here. All right, scratch, put back on my vest. I'm going back out there. So, like,
yep.
Some days I'm done shooting and editing by 10 o'clock. Other days I'm done shooting and editing by midnight. It's just, I never fully know when I'll be done when I start.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, because I mean, there's all kinds of various styles on YouTube, and some of them like are, you know, just vlogs. You know, like you'll get in front of a camera and you just talk all the way through. But I mean, for myself, I know about editing and stuff, and sometimes some people out there, like, it seems like they will just start the camera and then end the camera, and everything that was shot in between that time they upload to the internet. And yeah. I could never do that, because they'll like be sitting there talking like, well, you know about the goddess Hecate, and and then they'll start talking in about it. I'm just like sitting there just going, why don't you fucking edit that? We don't need to see that. Why don't you edit it out?
I know exactly what you mean. Like, I do a lot of research. I'll have an idea. I'll start my idea the day after I'm done editing, and I'll finish all my fact checking and this and that. like a couple days later, and half the stuff I look up is just like, well, to get to know this, you gotta, let me think here. 30 seconds later, they're still like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, next question. And it's just like, come on, man. There's free editing software out there. You get yourself a $25 Steam card, go wait for a holiday, and you can get yourself Sony Vegas and stuff like that. It's so simple. It's so easy.
And one of these days, I'm gonna get I've got a black cloak with a hood, and I'm gonna put like skulls around me, and I'm gonna put the black hood on, and I'm gonna have like a statue real close to me, and I'm gonna sit there and, okay, today we're gonna do shadow work. We're gonna do real evil witchy stuff. Like some of these people, they get into like these little, I don't know, maybe it's just my age, but I mean, some people out there, there's a very small percentage of them, but they're just so, I don't know. I have a hard time. I can't take them seriously. I have a hard time taking anybody who's like really airy and fairy and light seriously, and I have a really hard time taking like anybody who's like really dark and serious. I have a hard time taking either one of those extremes very seriously.
Well, the videos I love are the ones where they take their cell phone and they're like either in their car or something, or it's like right up here, and they're just like, hello, YouTube. So today's video, let me just walk through this mess. I'm not sure what's going on right now. Here comes the wind, and now you can't hear me at all, but I'm going to talk anyway.
Right. Now let's talk louder.
Like, I was doing research for how people find Christmas satanic and racist, and the guy sets his video up outside, and then there's this hardcore wind blowing through the entire thing. Yeah, but yet he's trying to talk, and it's just like, you want to take your headset off to not hear the wind, but you want to hear him. It's like suffering to find all this stuff. It hurts.
Yeah, exactly. But the one that gets me all the time is the one where they're either drinking. It's usually drinking in the video. I mean, I take a sip here, but it's not like I stop the whole video and just like pause for like a good couple of seconds to take a drink. And also,
hold that thought. Okay,
yeah,
hold on.
that thought. And then also, it's like when you're doing this, it's quite different from doing an actual video.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it, I guess.
All right. More satanic panic.
More satanic panic. Yep. All right.
Alrighty. Hopefully, Bill Schnoblin comes back.
That was hilarious.
I can't believe it.
That was the part when I came into it, was everybody was like, that guy's voice sounds familiar, doesn't it? People are in the chat are saying it, and it's like, no, is it? It is. And he was so young, and he had hair, and he had like a little tiny beard.
And it was just ironic because it kept with the theme of the title of the video too.
Yeah.
So
he's been at this game for a long time.
It just lets you know, man, when you're not making money, just burn the whole New Age community behind you and become a Christian. So
there you go. There you go. Something to strive for those of you out there in YouTube land. If this whole paganism thing doesn't work out for you. All right, let me see.
I call it first, so I call dibs on that next. It's going to be me.
No.
You guys can forget about it.
No dibs. Okay, let me see. I got to remember how to do this. There we go. Okay, do you see it?
I see you.
You see me?
Yeah. We are having some non-Dorian related technical difficulties. I know you're not used to this. Oh, there you go. I see it now.
Okay, so
I
now
see your whole web page. I see your whole desktop. There you go.
Okay, now do you see the video?
Yeah.
I still don't know worshipping the dead.
Do you hear the video?
Yeah, it's a little quiet though.
It's a little quiet. Okay.
There were effigies of Satan.
How about that?
I still find it a little quiet. I'm just gonna let the chat decide though.
Still a little quiet?
Yeah.
Half man and half beast around the walls. There was
How about that?
That's better. But the chat is saying louder with capitals.
Okay.
a high altar, and on the altar there were cups and knives.
How about that?
Well, it sounds good to me. Oh man, I would love to have like supplies like this, like a nice decorated candle stand, a nice beautiful chalice.
Yeah, that actually looks like a setup from the Ferraris. I think that's the picture that they're taking it from. What's the chat saying about the sound level?
Nothing yet. I'll let you know as soon as they post.
Okay, all right. Well, anyhow, I'll continue on.
The chief Satanist sat on a throne-like seat. He was robed and hooded. Around him, in a semicircle, stood some 13 priests and priestesses.
You might want to put on present to everybody. I'm seeing that when I talk, my avatar pops up. Takes one day off and forgets everything.
Yep, exactly. Okay, do you still see it?
Yes, it says presenting to It said presenting to everybody now. So.
Okay, so so is it presenting? Can you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Not to say it to anybody, and because it was the keynote of the movement was secrecy. Little wonder when you knew what went on in there.
In Satanism, sex is not only used to lure new recruits, but in a ritual.
So this is Carly Matritacioni, or whatever her name is, and she's another occult expert, and she's been in several videos that I've done so far. She's supposedly a quote-unquote occult expert. Carol Matrioni, or whatever her name is.
Context, sex is also believed to be an important method of inducing power.
In the sex ritual, it can be involving either a child, a teenager, or someone in the group, either voluntarily or...
No, she also pulled that page was from the Satanic Bible, and you brought this up several times, Dorian, that they really the Church of Satan really frowns upon, abusing animals or abusing children.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with every witch group that I've ever known about. They'll never initiate anyone who's under the age of 18, simply for this reason. And also there's the concept that whoever comes to, witchcraft or the occult should come of their own free will. They should decide for themselves if this is something that they want to do. Whereas like in Christianity, or if you grow up Mormon or whatever, chances are you'll probably be indoctrinated into it at an early age. But for especially witchcraft and many occult groups, that's not the same. They only want people who are over the age of 18 because they made the choice to come to it, for themselves.
Involuntary.
Were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, even in the Satanic Bible, a lot of times they say don't hurt animals because there's a lot of cases where they value animal lives above human lives. And there's multiple instances in the Satanic Bible where it says don't mess with kids. And that's just a simple read. It takes maybe half an hour to get through the Satanic Bible. There's really not much in there. There's a lot of blank spaces, so.
Yeah.
You have to have sex and be initiated with the chief priest. After the chief priest has had you, anybody can.
So that is actually a good point. That not so much anymore. But there used to be a thing in, I'd say probably like maybe the 90s, where there were people who were kind of, you know, trying to use their influence or their position of being a high priest or a high priestess, and you know, telling people that, like, if they want to be initiated, they have to do a sexual initiation. And this is something that was a problem. I don't think it's so much anymore, but it was one of the things, like, if you ever got like a checklist of things to watch out, or questions to ask if you ever approach a coven group, is, first of all, you want to ask them, do you practice skyclad? You know, do you do that? The other one is, do you do like sexual initiations? And these are things that you just wanted to ask, because especially like in the 70s, there was a lot of a polyamorous activity going on, and it was a little more free than it is nowadays. And so it was not unusual to run into a group that did sexual initiations. They were not that common. They were pretty rare, but they were out there, and people joined the coven and they weren't ready for that. They're like, whoa, wait a second, this is not what I wanted to do. Well, nowadays it's completely different. I think you'll rarely find a group that does still practice skyclad. Usually the only groups that actually do practice skyclad are usually what is called British traditional Wiccan covens, and those are usually Gardnerian and Alexandrian, and then some other ones. But most other groups don't. Even most, I would say probably the most Alexandrian and Gardnerian groups are even moving away from that too.
Oh, apparently we're told we are much louder than the video from I Am Trash.
And there's nothing I can do about that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. I have one speaker, so it's either we're really loud and the video's too low, or, you know, or we don't hear the video. So we'll just have to whisper.
Hey guys, welcome to Heathen Haven.
ASMR, Heathen Haven. So, all right, I guess maybe he's trying to tell us to shut the fuck up. Get on with it. Shut the fuck up.
One of the biggest rituals I was in was the marriage ritual.
Oh, sorry, we got a question from I Am Trash.
Ah, crap. See what he made me do?
Asking, can you give the young old me a list of questions to ask and red flags to look out for? So I think he's talking about like getting into a coven and stuff like that.
Did I switch to the next video I did?
Child, a teenager.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the question?
He is asking if we could give him a list of questions to ask or red flags to look out for. I guess about joining a coven or something like that. Like, 'cause that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I actually did a video on it. So if
ooh, sellout time.
There's a video called, but I do have a video in there. So one of the things you want to do, like, let's say you are looking for a coven, you want to ask them what tradition they are, you know, like, what do they follow? What are their, you know, what do they practice Gardnerian? Do they practice traditional? Are they eclectic? Do they focus on a certain pantheon? Like, do they focus on maybe the Egyptian pantheon, or maybe a Greek pantheon or Roman pantheon? So you want to ask them those questions, but you also, the most important thing is if they line up with you. Like, let's say you're very drawn to, like, say, Norse deities, and then you meet a group that's very Greek-centered. You're probably not going to feel, it's probably not the right group for you. So that's the most important part. The other part is, if you, ask them questions like, do they practice skyclad? That means, do they practice ritual nudity? The other thing is, like, what is, usually later on in the group, they'll, what are, like, some of the requirements for initiation? that's one of the things you probably want to ask them. Like, what is the structure of the group? You know, is it the high priest or a high priest who calls all the shots, or do everybody have a say in what's going on?
Some red flags would be, though, saying that they have, like, a red flag would be like, you have to have sex with someone in the group, or I have to have sex with you first. Like, that'd be the biggest red flag. Like, you shouldn't have to offer up your body.
Yeah, that would be one of the biggest red flags. Yeah, but big red flags is when they start like being really dodgy, like they don't tell you questions, or they don't really fully respond to questions you have. Like if you ask them about, like, do they practice skyclad, and they're like, well, you know, and they start kind of like dodging that sort of a question, that's kind of a red flag. If you ask a question, if you ask questions of them and they're kind of like tough questions, and every single question they have an answer for, that's kind of a red flag for me, because not everybody knows everything. And if somebody knows everything, they don't know anything. You know? Most people will say, let me find out and get back to you, or something, you know, to that effect. It's just, you kind of have to go into a situation really trusting your gut. You know, also know what you're looking for. If you really are seriously looking for a coven, you want to find a group that you're going to feel comfortable with, that has similar beliefs to you. Maybe do research on some different traditions, like Witchbox is a great place to go looking for that.
We'll see you tomorrow. I guess we're after the hike.
Well, sorry, I was just getting our chat room back up in my cell phone here.
Okay, all right. Well, anyhow, so yeah, you know what? I am trash. Let me get back to you on that. I don't want to take up too much time because I can't remember everything right now.
Or someone in the group, either voluntarily or involuntarily, you have to have sex and be initiated with the chief priest. After the chief priest has had you, you know, anybody can.
One of the biggest rituals I was in was a marriage ritual, and that was where me and my soulmate had to get married.
So this right here, this guy right here in the red robe is Alexander's. So this is an Alexandrian group. You'll notice that all of them are skyclad except for the high priest, who's Alexander's. That was how he practiced. So the high priest and the high priestess would usually be clothed, and all the other people usually were skyclad.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing that fire's really low.
Well, that's one of the reasons why you definitely wanted to have a big fire, to keep warm. And there were some groups that also used to put fat on their body, and there was this, you know, the flying ointments that people talk about nowadays, and sometimes you can buy, were sometimes mixed with fat, and then they were put on their bodies.
Oh wow!
But that was one way of keeping warm, but also definitely being close to a bonfire was another way. If you're doing an outdoor ritual, obviously, if you're doing an indoor ritual, then you just hope the house is warm. Or maybe you have a clothed session. But again, I don't think skyclad or ritual nudity is all that popular today. I think it would be really rare to find a group today that practices skyclad.
Required that the male and the female that were getting married sleep with the rest of the other groups. So the female that was getting married to me would sleep with the guys, and I'd sleep with the girls.
That's bullshit. So if you were in a polyamorous relationship, then you would probably sleep around. But like, any initiation was usually done with a couple. So a lot of groups, especially Gardnerian and Alexandrian groups were male, female, male, female, male, female. So usually couples came into a joined a coven. And so you would usually sleep with your partner. And there was some initiations that were, that were sexual initiations. But again, it was voluntary. It wasn't like you had to do it. If you didn't want to sleep with the high priest or high priestess, you didn't have to, But again, that's something that I don't believe is practiced anymore. Or not believe is practiced. I just don't think it's really practiced all that much anymore.
So you mean to say that even though they worshipped Satan and did all the satanic stuff, they still respected the boundaries of marriage and stuff like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, I'm not joining that coven now.
Is the Roman god of wine. He's also god of madness and frenzy. So we had a bacchanalia, which was basically, it was supposed to be an orgy. We had a guest for that one, a young boy. And the energy that was raised from that was used to send all our enemies mad.
Sex is very much a sacred thing for magicians of all backgrounds. And it's a very powerful thing. And it's one of the most natural things in the world. In a ritual context, it loses none of that naturalness.
Sarah, another priestess, and myself used to have to do lesbian type dances in front of Mark. But a lot of this went on.
Can you pause it?
Yeah.
So I tried, even after our last week's video where we went over this, I tried to find Mark. I could not find him at all. I found his group, but I swear to God, after this came out, they must have kicked him out. They must have disbanded him and shunned him because I can't find anything on him at all.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, there were...
Oh my God, who's that?
What
I
happened?
heard somebody there. Who is that? I heard a female voice. Did you hear
I
that?
kind of want to know about the lesbian dancing.
So this Mark guy was probably like one of those people I was talking about earlier that were kind of, what they were basically sexual predators who were in the witchcraft scene really just to kind of get laid. That's what they were doing. And this guy sounds like one of those types. And so these were the type of people who required sexual initiations to get into a coven and all this other crap. So that's probably what he was doing. So that was his way of getting off, was to watch these women do these lesbian dances. I don't know what a lesbian dance is, but
I don't either. Okay.
Apparently it's something that
is a dance.
Have you ever had to do a lesbo dance, Loki?
No, what I think they're referring to as a lesbian dance might be two girls dancing with each other, like you would see at a strip joint.
Right. Yeah.
And I told you I always walk in on the sex part of videos when my head is killing me. Way to go, me.
Talk about lesbians and guess who appears?
Yeah.
Holy fuck! It's the magic words.
Which brings up a good question I had earlier. So you know how a lot of people will say that things are gay? Like, oh, that is so gay. Or, oh, that guy's so gay.
Yeah.
When are they going to start saying, oh, that's so lesbian? That guy's so lesbian.
I don't know, but I look at people and they go, that's so gay. I'm like, yeah, that's so straight.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's so heterosexual.
It's the only way to combat it.
Exactly.
And I'm sure eventually somebody will say that's so lesbian.
That's so lesbian.
I go, yeah, that's so Raven.
Well, welcome, Loki. Glad you can make it.
Yeah, medicine kicked in, so my headache is pretty much dwindled to nothing.
Cool. Good.
Seeming just like our guest. Seeming just like our guest in the last video, you had to get high before you come on the show.
Actually, because of this migraine, yes, I did. I ain't fucking lying there, guys. I'm not lying.
Yeah, but
Way to go, Comedic Rick. You
but
started
you
a
know,
trend.
with Zebora, even if she was like sitting at home not doing anything, she'd probably still be getting high. So.
Yeah. Oh, and please excuse random thumping noises. We're in the middle of halfway rearranging our apartment, and Bella's cage is right next to me. So I have an obnoxious rabbit next to me.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'm gonna start up this video again.
His opening courage to do that sort of thing in front of Mark. It was as if we were entertaining the gods.
In Satanism, sadomasochism is way out in the open. I mean, you know, all sorts of tortures and things are done to raise power.
We're seeing now what is known as...
Now, that, again, is bullshit. I mean, if that's something that you're into, and I mean, that's the thing whenever they start bringing up sex and witchcraft and the occult paganism, because a lot of pagans, at least especially like in the 70s and the 80s, they were pretty sexually open. You know, there was a lot of, like I said, there was polyamorous groups, a lot of bisexual groups, a lot of gay, lesbian, people who were into S&M, you know, be in bondage and discipline, all kinds of various stuff. And I'm sure that there were probably groups in private that maybe used S&M or BDM in their sexual rituals. But as for most covens, that was not something that was practiced unless it was consenting, like everybody in the group was consenting and they were really into that. And again, that's something that, like, whenever you go into joining a coven, that's, you know, hopefully they'll tell you these things. You know, it's not something you're going to walk into and all of a sudden, like, okay, you know, strap down nude and, you know, put on this muzzle and act like a dog. That's, you know, I think most covens today are pretty low key considering what the atmosphere of a lot of some pagan and coven groups might have been in the 70s and 80s.
Oh man, I'm just reading the comments right now, and Luna, she's just like, no, oh my god, no, just no. I studied kinks for my graduation, and just no, that touches me the wrong way. So here we have someone who studied up on the kink community, and even this is just making her like freak out.
I've lived next to the kink community, and I'm part of some of the BDSM groups, and I will tell you this much: nothing is ever done without consent.
Right.
No one is under the age of, actually, for this one particular group, under the age of 21.
Right.
And everything is done with consent. You actually sign a form. The first time you go, you are just there watching so that you know this might be something you're into or not. And you can even join and just be there just to talk with people while other things are going on. You don't have to join in. And very rarely do I see it in a coven or at all, besides in like the kink community.
Yeah. And if this is something that you're interested in, you know, like I've said before, it's like if you're really interested in orgies and bondage and S&M and kink stuff, you don't have to join a coven. There are groups, like Loki had mentioned, there are groups that you can go to for that, you know. And if you're looking for that, if you're looking to join a coven to get off or to get power, chances are you're going to be disappointed. That is not the group for you. It's not, the coven is not a place where you go and get off, and it's not a place where you go to, you know, try to usurp power and become some kind of a living god. Those things just don't happen in coven groups. And this is, you know, I've been in several coven groups, and that's just not the way it is. So, all right.
Sadomasochistic forms of Satanism, where they'll go in there and they'll self-mutilate each other, or
his name is not Jack Roper. Come on.
Jack Roper, a cult researcher, fights crimes all day, sacrifices virgins at night.
Oh my god. That has to be a pseudonym.
Yeah, well, there was maybe I'm showing my age here, but there was a TV show called Three's Company,
Yeah.
and one of the characters, he lived with two women, and his name was Jack Roper.
Oh my God.
Sadistically, he was one of the.
And what's going on with that hair?
It's scary.
Yeah. Does he got like, I mean, is that like a really bad wig or just a really horrible haircut?
Probably both. It's a badly cut wig.
Other common members, just for their own simple gratification.
Drawings by children reveal how they were forced to participate in atrocious satanic rituals involving animal and human sacrifice.
No, it involves whatever they believed people thought that they wanted to hear, or maybe they just drew something that they believed was happening or whatever. It doesn't mean that just because they drew a picture of something that it actually happened.
Sometimes even compelled to eat raw meat and drink blood. Heartbreaking accounts detail how children were deliberately trapped in cages or graves for hours at a time.
I've never come across any of this. There was accusations of stuff like this happening in several trials, but there was never any evidence of it. For example, at the McMartin preschool, there were believed to have been these dungeons in these tunnels under the McMartin preschool where kids said that they were forced to, they were flushed down toilets into these things, and then they were tortured, and all these crazy things, took flights on sharks and all this stuff. And there were several parents and also archaeologists who dug up the area and never found these tunnels. So all of this stuff was supposed to have happened, but there was never any evidence, actual factual evidence for any of this.
Oh man, but how are you supposed to sell multivitamins like that, man? You can't do it.
Huh?
How are you going to sell all your multivitamins if you can't prove the whole satanic panic? That's what Alex Jones does. The Pizzagate, and then you sell your male enhancement pills. So
they're making a freaking frogs gay.
Even with snakes, how they were defecated and urinated on, sodomized and raped by adults in satanic ceremonies. Sometimes...
How would that be a satanic ceremony, that you are defecating on someone?
I honestly don't know. I'm sorry. I laughed because it just sounds so stupid to be believed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, that's the other thing that really pisses me off about all this stuff. There is no ritual. You don't go to a Beltane ritual and see the high priestess squatting and laying a deuce in the high priest. It just doesn't happen. There is no ritual for that. It doesn't exist.
Adults would wear robes similar to Christian clergy and perform rituals in Christian churches, not only to mock God, but to terrorize the children against a belief in biblical Christianity.
No, the Black Mass was a way of, well, there's several different versions of a supposed Black Mass, but what actual Black Mass was supposed to be was the complete reversal of the communion. But it was a way of giving a big, huge middle finger to the church. But again, most pagans didn't do a mock communion. I think Alexander's actually did one mock communion, but it was sort of loosely based on a Black Mass. But it's not a regular practice that every witch and pagan performs.
And today, more and more cases are revealing an international link between child pornography and Satanism.
One of the things that seems to be real consistent with ritual child abuse in your hardcore type groups is the fact that it's almost an indoctrination method to make that child become part of that group.
If they can ritually abuse.
Oh no. Who recognizes that voice?
Is it a younger you?
No.
Well, there's my guess. So.
Well, we've already seen Bill in this one. Who else haven't we?
Who do we think is going to be the other person? Maybe
Old
the
fat
chat.
Guy. I don't remember his name. That's why I'm saying it. Old fat guy.
See what are people saying in the chat? Who do they think it is?
Dab for Satan.
Well, you know what? Out of Now You See TV, my favorite is always John Pounders because I'd love to have a last name Pounders.
Oh God!
And here we have Dorian Pounders.
Dorian Pounders.
We have David.
Yep. All right. Let's. I agree. I think it's David Carrico, but let's find out.
Children, if they can in any way.
Oh no, it's Bill Snowblin. Sorry.
Yeah.
Abuse children, anything to destroy a child.
Papa Smurf.
Or their wonder at the world, they will do it.
Satanism exists in this country as it exists elsewhere. It is appalling and evil. It is about murder. It is about child abuse. It's about
none of those things.
Sexual abuse. The most tragic stories that I've ever heard are where a child has told people what's been happening, and the adults have said, "Don't be stupid. That doesn't happen in this country."
So yes, often at times. So what will happen with these supposed satanic panic situations is either the parent or the kid will say something that sounds kind of unusual or whatever, and they'll look into it, and these kids will say these outlandish things about what, like they're made to watch bunnies being ripped apart or being flushed down toilets in dungeons, or all these really outrageous things that there's no actual proof for. There was the one case with especially the Oak Hill what was it, the Oak Hill preschool? No, anyhow, the Oak Hill one that I just recently had done, where there was, I got these police trucks going by. Where what had happened was they had given all this outlandish evidence. They even had a child psychologist come in and talk to the kids and, you know, talk about all this thing. And the person who had accused them was basically bipolar and schizophrenic, and she was crazy. This was one of the mothers, and she was going through a divorce, and the kids were, you know, screaming out for attention. But one of the doctors, you know, looked at the girl and noticed that her hymen had been, it didn't look normal, like it had been broken or something like that. I don't think it was broken, but it looked different. And to him, it was a sign that something happened, that she was sexually assaulted. So that whole charge against those two people was for child molestation or child abuse. All the other stuff was false. All the satanic ritual abuse and all this other crap. But later on, that same doctor went to a conference and they showed a slide, and it showed that sometimes a young girl's hymen develops this way. And so he found out, he goes, oh shit, I was wrong. And that's the reason why they were released from jail. So these, you know, sexual abuse, sexual assaults, unfortunately do happen to young kids. But whenever they start throwing in all this, you know, satanic panic and all these ridiculous rituals and all this other crap, it doesn't help the situation. You know, it doesn't help the kids. It doesn't help finding actual perpetrators. And most people who are involved in sexual molestation, unfortunately, is usually from within the family. It's usually other family members who do it. It's pretty rarely strangers, and let alone somebody who works in a daycare center.
Wow.
Probably.
Huh?
Oh, I was just saying, like, wow.
Yeah.
Is that the higher officials and these public organizations do not want to acknowledge that this is occurring.
Is the court system able to handle this type of...
It's not that they don't want to acknowledge it's happening. It's that the evidence just doesn't lead it there. That's what it is.
philosophy? Do they believe in Satanism? I mean, a lot of people just laugh at it.
One of the more powerful rituals in Satanism is the Black Mass, a parody of the Catholic Mass in which the text was said backwards and in which many other sacred Christian traditions are mocked.
In Satanism, you have rituals that are designed, first of all, to deliberately mock God. So in our particular type of Satanism, we would mock, like, say, the Catholic Mass. We would consecrate communion hosts, and then we would do things like stamp on them or urinate on them or other things, believing that by doing that, we were somehow abusing God.
No, it was more of a way of separating yourself from church. It was that particular thing, that particular type of satanic mass was a way of, yeah, like I said earlier, like giving a middle finger to the church, but definitely separating yourself from them. Like if you grew up in a Christian background and you held on to a lot of this Christian guilt, maybe even Christian guilt about who you were and all this stuff, and you really needed some way to, like, get rid of it, this was one way of doing it, was to participate in a Black Mass so that you could take all of that and just get rid of it. And that's what a Black Mass was supposed to do. It was supposed to be a complete mockery of a communion.
Altar, which involved me being naked, spread-eagled on a low plinth. I had a candle in each hand. One of the other priestesses was a nun, dressed up as a nun. She had to wee into a bucket, and that was used to asperge us, cover us in it. We had toast with little crosses on, little circles, and that was used as a sacrament, and it was placed up my whatever I can say on
Vagina.
American TV.
It's like it's the vagina, it's a penis. I mean, come on. Yes, we're all adults here.
It was placed on my lips, and that was how it was blessed. Then it was sprinkled with urine, and then it was thrown on the ground and had to be trampled by everybody. And then
there's not going to be much of it left. But it sounds like what she's talking about was something that this Mark guy was involved in.
No wonder why Mark disappeared from the face of the earth.
Yeah, really, exactly. Now, the whole thing with the Black Mass, I should say, this is the way that I understand it from history. I've never participated in the Black Mass or talked to anyone who's actually attended a Black Mass, so all of my knowledge of it is from books that I've read. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm in the same boat as you. All the stuff I've researched is only being secondhand accounts and everything from other people, like from online.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't think I actually talked to Raul about what an actual Black Mass was. But you know, yeah, I mean, there's books. You know, you can go online, you can download a Black Mass. There's several of them out there. But like I said, I mean, this is just, I mean, especially with the occult and witchcraft and paganism, there's like three different faces. There's the face, there's the face of what Christianity believes that, I'm just going to give the example of witchcraft. There's Christian belief about what witchcraft was and what witchcraft practices was. Then there's what maybe there's actual historical evidence for, what we actually know, like maybe if there was any kind of a witchcraft cult or witchcraft groups or healers or wise women or, you know, whatever that did survive, that did practice like the old ways and maybe practice the folk traditions of various paganisms that still carry on into the 16th century, what those practices were. And then there's what our modern interpretation of those practices are and what we believe them to be, and then we incorporate other things around we throw into our practice. So often whenever people talk about some of these things, we have to kind of like, okay, is this Christian propaganda? Is this historical fact? Or is this modern day projection? You know, you really have to kind of break it down that way and look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Talked, hail Satan. I rescind all previous allegiances to any other god. You're the supreme, that sort of stuff. All the power that was raised through this ritual was used for killing off Christians.
Yeah, see, like what she's talking about there sounds like a mixture between Christian propaganda and modern projection. It doesn't sound historical or factual.
Scientists believe that sexual perversions combined with the spilling of innocent blood conjures up the strongest powers. Reports show animals, including dogs, cats, goats, and horses, being savagely skinned alive.
I can't read any of that. I'm just gonna have bizarre abuse cases. Yeah, but I don't know, and I don't know what this is. I can't read it. I mean, there's sick people out there that do sick shit, you know, unfortunately. But I don't know what would associate that with any kind of Satanism.
By reading the little bit I can see from the Press Enterprise,
Mhm.
that means it's a California paper that's close to Hemet, California, Riverside County. That's about the only thing I can really make out from the press. Barbara Matters, or whatever that last name is.
Mm-hmm.
The Press Enterprise. It's something that happened in California, and it was just some sick ass teenagers. From anything that I remember, because we covered it in one of our classes.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's like, you know, people. It's like Richard Ramirez and these other psychopaths out there. I mean, they do sick shit in whatever they believe, but it doesn't mean it doesn't. It's, you know, they're just fucking twisted. Those people are sick. It doesn't have anything to do with actual people who take their practice seriously.
Having their blood drained, organs removed, or being split open and nailed to upside-down crosses. Interestingly, Humane Society officials note that many mass murderers were originally involved in animal mutilations.
We have an epidemic of young people participating in some strata of Satanism. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all out sacrificing human beings, but they may very well be doing the rituals that involve mutilation of animals. One fire department individual told me all of the woods around our area have these types of rituals going on. If you kill an animal, that exerts a tremendous amount of energy that the people there can sort of vampirize on.
You know, this is one thing I'd really like to find out. Where the fuck does this originate? Who out there actually believes that if you kill something, somehow it gives you some sort of power?
Apparently Bill Schnoblin.
I mean, who thought this up? How did this originate? You know, I mean, I actually got into not really a fight, but there was some idiot in a chat room I was in, and they were talking about sacrificing animals for, you know, like if you have a headache or something. And I was like, are you serious? And they were like, oh yeah, completely serious. You know, you sacrifice a chicken for a headache. I was like, and you believe that actually cures your headache?
Sacrifice the chicken.
Yeah, sacrifice a chicken for a fucking headache. And I was like, okay, I was done. I was done with this guy. It's like, who actually believes that this actually happens, actually works? You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's
but
if that's all I needed to stop headaches, and damn it, oh well, I'll just sacrifice a chicken sandwich to my stomach.
Here's how freaking dumb that person would be, though. So a chicken maybe will cost you what, a couple $100, or an Advil will cost you maybe $1 at the dollar store.
Right.
You get 10 of them.
Right.
What is the most economic outcome anyway? Like, what would you logically choose?
Yeah.
A $1 Advil or a couple $100 chicken?
I mean, the whole idea of animal sacrifice for ritual is, I mean, that's goes way back. I mean, if you know, those of us who grew up in a Christian or Catholic home, you know, usually what happens is before you eat, you pray and you thank God for the food that you have before you. That, in a sense, is understanding that the food you've given is a sacrifice to yourself. And you are giving thanks to that and understanding that is a sacrifice. So if you understand that an animal is being sacrificed for you to survive, that's a whole different psychological makeup. That's a whole different ritual. But if you are just killing an animal, believing that somehow it's feeding you energy or vampirism or power, that's completely bizarre. I don't understand that at all. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, yes, we consume so that we can survive. That, the basis of that ritual, I can completely understand, but not the other one.
Yeah, neither can I.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really bizarre.
Would be slain, and this is especially true on the high holidays like Beltane and Samhain, Halloween, and May Eve.
I had my incredibly
he said the wrong ones.
Would be slain, and this is especially true on the high holidays like Beltane and Samhain, Halloween, and May Eve.
So he said the four high. Yeah, he said the four high holidays, but he said the names, the Gaelic names for them, and then he said the English names for them.
So only he said two of them.
Well,
he said Beltane and Samhain, and then he said May 1st and Halloween. So I mean, obviously he's leaving two out.
I'm going to trust the expert here, and Bill was an expert. He's been a little bit of everything, so I'm sorry, guys, but I got to go with the good old Bill here.
All right, you're going to go with Mr. BS?
Yeah.
All right.
You haven't say Samhain properly.
Huh?
He said Samhain.
Samhain? But I don't know. I mean, it was probably just a little mistake that he made, but it was just.
It's kind of funny.
Like, no, those aren't the four holidays. You forgot Balk and Lunasa.
And there was drumming going on in the background. And I thought, you know, it was going to be amazing. And then I just cut its head off like that, suddenly. And that was it.
They brought in alive a white cockerel, the symbol of denial. And they wrung its neck at the high altar. And they slit its throat, and they caught the blood in one of the cups from the high altar. My arm was cut. They stirred the blood in the cup with a knife. I had to drink that blood, put my finger in the blood, and sign a real parchment, not a silly scrap of paper, but a real proper parchment that I would serve the devil the rest of my life.
I would strap the animal into the middle of the pentagram. Then I would take a portion of the blood or the body and drink it or eat it. I believe that by doing this, more power and more ability was being placed into my body.
See, this is where anybody who believes this or does this, unless you practice Buddha or Santeria or some other practice that sacrifices animals for whatever their beliefs are. I don't get into that. I don't practice it. But if that's what they do, that's what they do. But as for European witchcraft, I've never ever come across any historical account of just sacrificing chickens and making pacts with the devil. That's Christian propaganda, and it sounds like it's being mixed in with modern projection. So the modern projection, they believe about some sort of Christian propaganda. So whoever is actually doing this, if they are actually doing that, what that lady was talking about, I mean, they're idiots. I don't know what they think they're practicing, but I've never historically come across any animal sacrifice just for the fact of sacrificing an animal. It's usually done, like I said, to eat, you know, understanding that you're giving a sacrifice of an animal for a purpose, but it's not just done, you know, aimlessly.
Thing about sacrifice, if you do it once, you want to do it all the time. Once you've actually passed the barrier of sacrificing an animal, you get this sort of bloodlust where you really want to do it. And I really wanted to do it.
It's believed that if you just kill an animal, that's not much good. You've got to kill it slowly because, and this would be true of a person too, of course, that the screams and the agony of the animal would contribute to the high level of power.
What results we had. After just the first ritual, we were moved to throw every effort into the successive workings. The power, the response.
See, that little clip that they just played of Mark there was, the way that they edited that together, it sounded like it was related to the animal part of it, and it wasn't. It was probably something that they stitched in there. I mean, that Mark guy's already kind of a creep, but it's just kind of it was just something that I noticed.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if you gave Mark a script.
Unfortunately, I don't think they have to give Mark a script. All they had to do was just basically put a camera in front of him.
Worshiping in the community can just stigmatize that community beyond repair. Probably one of the biggest problems would have to be political. They want to keep it, under wraps as much as possible.
The reason some of it's being covered up specifically is for political reasons. It's obvious. For instance,
why would covering up anything that a group of witches or Satanists do be of any political influence whatsoever? If anything, it seems like it would help a political candidate, especially back in the 80s. You know, I don't understand. I don't understand this idea that you have to. Nothing's being covered up. There's idiots out there doing something. They need to be arrested for it.
Yeah.
You know,
wealthy community who's plagued with a animal sacrifice in the community. This will use cats, for instance. If the mayor of that particular community allows that to be published, what's going to happen to property value in there? They're going to say there's all sorts of Satanists. Let's not bring that up.
Animal sacrifices is commonplace today. And in the order that I was involved in years ago.
Pause it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about killing animals or doing what these people were doing to animals is not anything to do with witchcraft or ritual sacrifice. It's to do with the person is a freaking sociopath. And this is the first sign of them actually thinking about killing actual people. A warning sign. It is, you need to find this person and get them mental help immediately before that cat becomes that neighborhood kid or that old lady down the street.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. And instead of looking for that, a lot of people are like, look for the Satanist groups instead. And no, it's an individual being a sick, twisted little fuck.
Yeah.
To put it in the easiest terms that I can come up with. I mean, I've had somebody jump into my backyard, take one of my pet rabbits, and kill it before. and leave his parts everywhere. We found out it was a neighborhood kid who later got thrown into juvie because he tried to break into somebody's house and yeah.
Do the same thing.
Yeah. The thing is it has nothing to do with Satanism. It has nothing to do with the occult. It has to do with the person's mental state. And this is just how they're blowing off mental illness again.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, there are, I'm sure that there are people out there who get into the occult and this is what they believe, you know, or they use this as a justification for going out and torturing animals or killing animals or something. But that's their problem. That's, you know, that's their, they gotta, they need to be reported to the police, you know. I mean, that's, if that's what they believe that they are doing, not only does it make other occultists, pagans, look bad, but it, like you said, Loki, it's a good sign that maybe they would do something to somebody else's pet or somebody's kid or something like that, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, not everybody who gets into the occult or gets into Wicca or paganism or whatever is, you know, all there. You know, sometimes people get into it who, you know, not quite all there.
Yeah.
And
it goes for every religion, though.
Yeah, it goes for everyone. Exactly.
I just want to see the numbers of the people who joined Satanism because of the fear tactics by these people. Satanism, because this is what they thought Satanism was.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think Raul kind of talked, you know, he talked about that a little bit. Or at least I remember him talking to him about that. And he was saying that's one of the reasons why they do their vetting, you know, like they have them do a little questionnaire, and sometimes people apply to the Church of Satan and they're like, you know what? No. You're not looking for the Satanism that we have. You're looking for something else. So, you know, good luck to you, but no thanks.
You're looking for the satanic panic Satanism. That's not really us.
Right. Exactly.
Sacrifice. This lady in a black robe came forward with this little baby. And at first I didn't realize it was a real baby. And she just laid it on the altar. It was breathing, but it wasn't crying. And then the high priest just took the athame, or the ceremonial dagger, and just cut the baby's throat and caught the blood in a chalice.
And where's the police report for this? Because you just witnessed a murder.
Right. I was about to say, and the cops arrested the mom and the priest, right? Right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, I'm sure that almost all of us know that an athame is a ritual knife. And they're not sharp. You don't cut things with it. It's not used for that manner. And another reason why athames are not, you know, sharp is that if you are in a circle with people who are practicing skyclad and you're swinging your knife around, you might cut somebody. And that's not something you want to do in a small, you know, there's 8 or 13 of you in a small room.
I
so
might need you off on me because mine is extremely sharp.
Well, it's not a hard and fast rule. I mean, this is kind of like quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes here, traditional way that an athame was it was not sharp. It was, you know, because it wasn't used to cut anything. It was a ritual tool. It was a way to cut and create sacred space or to direct energy. But it wasn't actually used for like cutting herbs or carving candles or doing anything such as that. That's what you use the traditional bowline or white-handled knife for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, modern day today, you know, people have athames that are sharp and everything, but you just don't want to be swinging a sharp knife around in a room with 13 people who are naked.
Unless you're crazy like that.
Right, exactly.
At that point, I was staggering, reeling. I thought I was just going to throw up. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. But by then, I was so scared that I just stood there. And then when I was led forward, I thought, this is it. It's your turn. They're going to kill it. And I was lifted up onto the altar. Now, I at that time was still in white. It was part of a sacrifice known as the sacrifice of the White Virgin.
Never heard of it.
And the same blood that had come from the baby was daubed all over my body. Then the high priest raped me. And I think at that moment, I was just, the fact I was still alive went through my mind. I then had to sign in blood a parchment stating that I would never, ever reveal what had happened in a coven. If I did, I would die.
If we look,
And yet you're doing it now.
Right, exactly. And then what about the police report? I mean, okay, so you basically just came on camera and said you were involved in a murder. Okay, so where, this drives me nuts. It's like, okay, so you just murdered someone. What was the consequence of that? I mean, did you report it to the police? I mean, come on, it's ridiculous.
Well, I did see at least a news article flash of baby killed in satanic sacrifice and then disappeared. Like, you saw a headline. Did you that? Yeah. Did anything come of it? How do they know it was that?
So it looks like something Ember 8, 1968. I don't know.
It also looks very Photoshopped too, though.
I don't think it was Photoshopped. I think what it was they cropped it. You know what I mean? They cropped it so none of the context of it is really there, but definitely you see the headline, Baby and Satanic Killing. We don't know if this is from the National Enquirer or what it's from. So it says Herald News Series, something either December 8th, 1968 or November or September 1968. But we can't read anything. So, you know, I don't know. It just seems like, okay, if you're going to give evidence for something like this happening, you would, first of all, have forensic evidence. You'd have police involved who are talking about this. There would be court cases that were cited. You know, you wouldn't just flash on headlines and, you know, just move on to something else.
Real quick, the first thing that popped up was the Rosemary's Baby film.
Okay. 1968?
Yep. Rosemary Babies, 1968, Rotten Tomatoes. Also the wiki for it. There's a wiki for satanic ritual abuse, which we all know that one's fake as hell. A list of unsolved murders in the UK.
Oh, okay. Does it say anything about the Herald News?
Watch this be the news article from whatever video that was.
Herald News. So far, nothing for that is coming up. Well, there actually is a Herald News is an actual one. It's not coming up for December, at least.
Or November or September?
December. Let's try November.
Looks like November 8th, 1968.
We'll correct my spelling in a minute.
You might even be able to just put like 1968 Herald News Baby and Satanic Killing.
That's pretty much what I have.
Oh, okay.
The closest one that it pops up was September 2nd, 2011. A former leader of satanic cult who admitted to murder of the death of Karen Matson on February 8th, 1980, was ordered returned to prison. But that was in 1980.
I'd just like to say welcome Matt or Mad Witch to the chat room. He has decided to bless our chat room with a random crash. Currently, we're trying to find the actual article for this baby in satanic killing. Maybe it was the baby that was killed, or the baby did the killing. I'm not sure yet. So,
all right. Well, I'll let you for that, Loki. I'm gonna play it on. Okay.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. But by then, I was so scared that I just stood there. And then when I was led forward, I thought, this is it. It's your turn. They're going to kill it. And the same blood that had come from the baby was daubed all over my face. Went through my mind. I then had to sign in blood a parchment stating that I would never, ever reveal what had happened in a coven. If I did, I would die.
If we look at the number of children that are missing, the number of teenagers that are missing, I think we can probably, with some degree of safety, assume that a significant percentage of them are ending up dead because of ritual satanic murder. And this is because there are more and more Satanists.
Whoa there, buddy. That is a very dangerous thing to say. All these kids ended up missing. Well, it's safe to assume they're dead. That is, although there's a good chance of that, it's very dangerous to say. A lot of them could just be kidnapped. A lot of them could be still alive and in danger. That is very dangerous to say that, oh, just assume they're dead. Satanists did it. Let's move on.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to give up looking for them. Yeah. And there was statistics at one of the videos that I had pulled up where it's like 99.3% of all missing children are returned. There's a very small percentage that actually go missing. And of those that do go missing, the majority of them are kidnapped by other family members. And then there's another very small percentage of them that are stranger abductions.
Yeah.
So the majority.
Go
ahead.
Sorry. So looking through all the cases back in that time period, the age of, I think the youngest on here was 15 years old.
Huh?
That whole okay, never mind, take that back. 1948 was the only one with, it was a 22-month-old infant that was murdered by its father.
Was it satanic related, or?
This is supposed to be the unsolved murder cases in the UK, where that paper originated from, which was the link it sent me.
Oh, okay.
Which was Tyson was a 22-month-old infant who was murdered in his own home whilst his mother was out at work. His father had died in 1947 of injuries sustained from illness. So it's the only unsolved one of an infant on the entire list.
Okay. All right. Well,
for that time period.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Thanks.
Yes, they are. It's not all the time what you think, whether they're dragged and carted away and laid on some altar somewhere and cut open and have body parts removed. That's not always what happens. It may be just as simple as someone being mad at someone and going up and blowing their head off with a gun, or stabbing them with a knife, or even poisoning them. There's a lot of things I would look for to make a determination on a ritualistic crime. It could be marks that are found at the scene. It may be things.
See, now this is just whoever did this. They're just going by whatever bullshit nonsense they think the occult is. Because this doesn't have anything. There's like 66666. This doesn't have anything to do with the occult. And then this little triangle here. I mean, it sort of looks kind of like somebody is trying to draw the Solomon triangle of but it doesn't. it's like they're going by what they believe it should look like, not what it actually is.
Like a pentagram, it may be an upside down cross. Could be, again, the number 666. Could be a loss of blood in the body, certain parts removed in a certain manner. Their victims, some are targeted for specific reasons. One, because they wouldn't join. Two, because they did join and they want to drop out.
It's the other thing I've heard in videos. Like if you ever leave a coven, like they're gonna stalk you or threaten your life or threaten your family. No, if you leave a coven, that's it. They don't care. People come and go from covens all the time. Nothing ever happens to them. They don't end up washing up on the Jersey Shore dead, you know. It doesn't happen.
I'm not sure if you caught it in our last episode, but at the start of this video, they claimed it was not to scare you. This video was not intended to make you feel scared and stuff like that. These are just the facts, so you knew what was going on.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Bullshit. No, this is a pretty graphic one. I think this is one of the most graphic ones we've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the whole graphic one because it does look pretty bad. I mean, the other videos at least blurred out the dead bodies. Or didn't show it. This one does. But the article that you stopped on, the town's worries that teens may be killing themselves. Well, everyone's worried about that every day of the week nowadays.
Yeah. And the way that they've edited all of this together, it's not. I mean, it's completely. They have an agenda, and this whole video is geared towards that. You know, it's just getting the clip of the article where you just see that bold headline. They're manipulating the audience. They're manipulating the information that they have. I mean, that's one of the things that that we learn just doing our own videos on YouTube is we understand how really to sort of manipulate the audience. And if I give an article, I give the link too, and then you can see exactly where it's from. Somehow there's a way that if you wanted to, you can go and research it. But if they just flash on something like that where it's a big headline, but we don't get all that information, we don't know the whole context of it. So yeah, this is completely just manipulating the audience and propaganda, and it's completely used to scare the shit out of you.
Yeah, and that's all it's for.
Yeah.
My rabbit agrees.
Okay, good. And the rabbit agrees.
They voluntarily do it.
When you join Satanism, you take an oath that will state that you're there till you die.
I don't know what oath she's taken.
And the biggest gift that you can give Satan is to die voluntarily as a sacrifice.
The human being is a precious instrument in the eyes of the Lord. If somebody can come along, a Satanist, come along and destroy, murder something that God loves, that's just what the devil wants.
These various satanic covens that meet need to have this kind of sacrifice for their high festival day.
Let's see. August 3rd, Satanic Rebels. September 7th, Marriage to the Beast of Satan. September 20th, Midnight Host. September 22nd, Feast Day. October 29th to November 1st, All Hallows. Where is this from?
Yeah, according to that, I missed Feast Day, man. I feel pretty left out.
Yeah, but I mean,
I had just a normal day, like normal food.
Yeah, but my point is that they could have just typed this up.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the context of this? Where is this from? I mean, it's it doesn't. It's just they just put it in here, but it doesn't make any sense. It's like, what is the fucking point of this? The only ones that we recognize is October 29th, November 1st, All Hallows Eve. these other ones, I don't recognize any of them. And where's it coming from?
And it's sort of I hate to say it like this, but it's like supply and demand. The more satanic covens there are, the more children and babies and teenagers are going to be brought out and sacrificed. And again, it is the destruction of innocence that they seek.
So he's not trying to alarm you, but the chances are that there's more satanic groups out there. The chances are that your children would be abducted and sacrificed in some kind of weird satanic ritual. But he doesn't want to alarm you.
That's why children are sought. That's why teenagers are sought. That's why, oddly enough, Christians are sought.
In my interviews with...
So it's not just children. It's Christian children. Oh, man. It's like painting a big red arrow. These people are evil. You want them gone.
Former Satanists and their victims. It's really a common thing to perform sacrifices and rituals on religious holidays, specifically Christmas and Easter, and when they do it on those days.
So I guess that's where it was from, but
to perform sacrifices and rituals on.
So I guess that's where it was from, but I don't know. I think I've seen something like this before, and this is some kind of, I've seen it on the internet. But I think we came across this before, where they're talking about certain days and then what is done on those days and what it means. But I don't know where it actually comes from. It's just like somebody made it up one day.
Oh, what was it? I think that was in our last video, I believe, where they made up all these weird holidays and everything.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and they were talking about like what kind of a sacrifice you do for what day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that because I asked the Reverend from the Satanic Temple about that, and he kind of laughed at me. So
yeah, because I mean, it's all bullshit. But it's like, but they create it to make it seem like it's legitimate, but it's not. It's just bullshit. I don't know who fucking created it or what it's supposed to mean, but it doesn't have anything to do with Satanism. It doesn't have anything to do with paganism. It doesn't have anything to do with witchcraft. It's just something that they made up. And then they throw in some days, like, you know, where was one? There's St. Walpurgis Night, February 25th. I don't even think that's the right date. But like the one that we saw before was October 29th to November 1st.
Religious holidays, specifically Christmas and Easter, and they do it on those days simply to blaspheme the Christian faith.
In many satanic groups, a mother will be asked to sacrifice her own child to Satan, and she may even, in fact, be ritually impregnated to do that. She may even specifically have been impregnated, and then when the child is born, they never register the child as being born, and they kill it in a very horrible way. And sometimes the mother herself is actually asked to do it.
From one of the nicer, quieter, more beautiful parts of England, namely the county of Surrey, where people would find it hard to believe that these things go on, there is a confession from a woman who said that her baby, when born, was used as a human sacrifice in satanic rituals. She said it herself. She has said it in public. What does one make of that other than a heartbreaking confession to something that's been a guilty secret for a long time?
Because this high priest could have his pick of any woman in the coven, and I was the youngest one there, it was usually me that was chosen. And then I got pregnant. And I was terrified. I didn't want the baby, but I didn't want it to end up on an altar. The law was that it was the master's baby, and therefore he could do as...
So this comes from Aleister Crowley's Magic in Theory and Practice. And this is the one that they always pull up about. Aleister Crowley was promoting human sacrifice, and especially child sacrifice. And it's not what he was talking about at all. Aleister Crowley was like the Poe of the 1940s. He liked to fuck with people, and he really liked to fuck with people who took everything literally and did not look at it figuratively. So when he was talking about all the children that he had sacrificed, he was talking about all the ejaculations he had, which were sacrifices. That's what he was talking about.
He wished with it. So at that point, I ran away.
Audrey escaped, and unlike many others, her baby's life was not sacrificed to Satan. Ultimately, the purpose of Satanism is to commit atrocities against the Judeo-Christian God, his laws, and his most precious creation, mankind.
Christians are the Satanist's worst enemy. They are out to torment you. They are out to blackmail you. They will even kill you. They even tried to kill me when I came out.
I highly doubt that.
I would have given her more credibility if she didn't appear in this show with all these lunatics and batshit crazy people. So,
yeah, I mean, it's just that. I mean, come on, everyone out to kill you. I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
I'm sure that Christians have worse enemy than Satanists, but yeah, I have to read the whole. This wasn't made to scare you. Bullshit. They tried to kill me. Yeah, how is that not scaring the shit out of somebody right there? If you join Satanism and you try to leave, they'll kill you. That's what really happens. Yeah, that's a scare tactic, you dumb cunt.
Look at all these people who fled from Satanism and are still alive. Oh my goodness, but if you try to leave, they'll kill you. Trust me.
Yeah. I mean, okay, granted, there are Christians who live in other parts of the world who, yeah, they do. They have to worry about being murdered. There's Christian groups in parts of Africa, parts of the Middle East that, yeah, they do have to worry about being murdered. There are people who do want to kill them. They are the most persecuted group in that part of the world. But here in America, no, you don't have to worry about that. Nobody's going to hack you up. Nobody's going to behead you. No Satanists are going to kidnap you. And I mean, it just doesn't happen. You're not a Christian missionary, you know, in the Sudan who has to worry about warlords or whatever coming and killing you. But
black witchcraft. If you're in a church where the Spirit of God is really moving and where the Word of God is really being preached and where prayer is in the souls, and they regard you as their mortal enemies, and they're going to be out there trying everything they can to destroy, to kill, and to maim, because that is, of course, the nature of Satan, and that is also the nature of his followers. They will try and infiltrate your church. They will try and set up whispering campaigns against the pastor and the elders. They may even try to seduce the pastor.
What is a whispering campaign?
I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. It could be anything.
I guess like they whisper into the pastor's ear, like, we have to do this or we have to do that. I mean, it's just so funny. It's like I've heard this so many times from other Christians, like Satanists really want to infiltrate the church. So the people who you have to worry about the most are the people who are in your own congregation. I mean, could you imagine the level of fear that some of these people must feel like they have to, or the level of fear that some of these people might have? Like, if they actually believe this, like, they would be constantly questioning, like, how good of a Christian somebody else is, and are they actually a Satanist in the group trying to infiltrate them? It's crazy. I mean,
Sorry. I was about to say, it's creating a level of distrust is what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to make them jumpy going, wait, that person was in at church yesterday. They must be a Satanist. No, their mom died. But still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it creates fear and discord within their own congregation. Like, people who join like 101 groups, every so often you'll get somebody in there who's, maybe not quite so serious about it, maybe just like looking into it. but you don't like, it's not like a fear, you know, it's like you understand, okay, so this person is coming from like maybe a Christian background or doesn't know anything about witchcraft or doesn't know anything about paganism. And they're coming to this group to find out more about it. And so you understand that they're interested in it and they're there to kind of get information. I've never been a part of a group where we feel like, oh, there's a Christian is trying to infiltrate our group and corrupt us and try to get us to follow God. It's like, that's not how I would perceive an outsider coming into our group. I would hope that as a Christian group, you would welcome someone like that into your group and then tell them what Christianity is about if they're really interested in it. Rather than, oh, they're a spy for Satan and we must get them out. I mean, ugh.
Oh yeah, that's the best way to get someone in your group in the first place. Someone's like, hey, I'm interested. And you're like, all right, here's a fold-up chair. Sit in the corner, take your notes, and if you have any questions, let us know when we're done. Or even, hey, come take part if you want to. And do you want a sandwich? Do you want a cookie? Do you want some Kool-Aid?
Yes, drink the Kool-Aid. No, but I mean, well, like a Wicca 101 group, it's like an open circle for people who are interested in it. So you get people who come in who maybe are familiar with paganism or witchcraft or whatever, but every so often you get somebody who's unfamiliar with it, and they're just there just to kind of like find out information, and they're usually pretty open about it. They're like, hey, I'm just here to check it out. I don't know if I really want to pursue it, but you know, it's something that I am wondering if it's something for me. And you know, or maybe sometimes they don't say that, maybe they're embarrassed about it, but as the group goes on and you start talking and sharing and listening and stuff like that, you find out who is not that experienced with paganism and witchcraft, and maybe they don't quite understand some things, so you sort of figure out like, oh, this person's very new to paganism, you know.
2 years I was involved in the Baptist church. I was constantly complaining about the pastor's sermons being too long, being too dry, sowing discord.
Sorry.
Between the people, gossiping about others.
As each member is initiated into the coven, they are commissioned to do a job, and one individual's job may be to desecrate a church.
They'll destroy or desecrate churches, where they'll spray paint Satan right on the altar just to put fear into that Christian church.
Some Satanists who were handpicked, the most powerful ones, were sent into churches to disrupt the meetings. And we stopped people from going forward when they asked people to go forward and accept Christ as their Savior.
I personally, in fact, was trained to learn all of the Christian jargon, you know, to say hallelujah and praise the Lord and do all the right things. And yet I had no more idea of Jesus being my Savior than a man on the moon.
If you can.
But of course, today he's completely 100% legitimate.
Tear down the prayer foundation of a church, then you've destroyed that church. And that's what every witch or Satanist plans to do when they go into a church, is to tear down that prayer foundation. And the rest of the church goes quickly after that.
No, we don't.
What? I know. What a horrible way to live.
I mean, if I go into a church, I'm either going there for a wedding or a funeral or to support a friend. Or we go into churches to support friends and family members. We don't go in there to go, yay, let's burn this bitch down.
Or for a bake sale, because some of those old ladies make some of the best like little brownies and stuff like that. You know, there's many different reasons. So
yeah, whisper in the pastor's ear like, hey, you know, could you maybe shorten the sermon a little bit? It's kind of long, kind of dry.
Add some more Metallica in there, you know.
Right, exactly. Slap on some Metallica. And Jim over there has been stealing from the tithe basket.
I mean, I used to go to a church because that's where a choir concert for Christmas was. We'd have a Christmas concert in a church. I mean, sometimes that's how it is. You're going to support somebody who's in a choir, a high school choir, who's singing Christmas hymns. And we don't go in there to destroy things. This guy's full of shit. You can tell. The look on his face is, what lie can I make up next to sound legitimate? He kind of has that kind of stare.
It's also just a horrible, I don't know. I mean, to me, it sounds horrible. I mean, I would not want to think that I would have to be paranoid of people who are coming into my group, like they're trying to corrupt us or do something, you know? I mean, it's just, to me, it just sounds like a horrible way to live.
Yeah.
You know?
You did things just because they were evil, just because you knew they hurt God, not because they gave you pleasure, but because you knew that it was a sin against God.
I had a 17-year-old boy call me and tell me that a year prior to his call, he was considering joining a satanic group. And he said the only thing that stopped him from joining was that he had to violate every one of the 10 commandments. He said he was willing to do that, except they were pushing for him to kill one of his parents. And that snapped him to reality.
Absolute truth guides you. Relative truth constantly changes. If it constantly changes, your defense mechanisms can rationalize things. Your morals within your life will just go right down the drain, especially when you get into Satanism because of its perverted nature.
I just didn't have any morals at all. I believe that the more I did on this earth to promote Satan and Satan worship and black witchcraft, I'd have a greater place later on when Satan himself would rule on the earth.
The secularization of our society, the media, schools, churches, and government institutions has created a vacuum whereby Satanism has been able to move in and capture the hearts and souls of a vulnerable generation. At no time in modern history has occultism in its various forms been so widely practiced as it is today.
So they show druids at Stonehenge, okay.
I just always laugh to myself too, though, when they say all cult. It's just like, all cult.
Here are some things that concerned parents can look out for.
You can see warning signs sometimes in a perfectly happy, healthy child who suddenly changes so dramatically in his behavior. Or a child who goes missing for maybe 2 hours, say Friday night every week, and can't tell you where he's been.
Oh, you mean like an average teenager?
Or a child who begins to show signs or suspicions of drug abuse. You will see the same withdrawal symptoms as you would with drug abuse, where there is a change in personality, aggression, a rebelliousness towards the parents, difficulty in sleeping, temper tantrums, and wanting to stay in their room so that they can play with the altar or call upon the gods.
You know, I don't think that's why that young 15 or 16-year-old boy stays in his room with his door closed. Or I don't know, maybe that was just me when I was that age.
I don't think it's why his door is shut and you're hearing loud music. I just honestly don't think the child wants you to know what they're doing. They might just be doing homework.
Right. You Americans are so filthy. Back in my day, I'd always have the door shut so I could study the Bible harder.
Bullshit, Dorian.
Yeah, you were studying that Bible real hard. I bet you were.
Or like me as a teenager, I hid away in my room because I was an antisocial fuckhead who just wanted to sit back, relax, and read a fucking book. I normally was on my bed. I was curled up in the corner of my bed because it was comfiest, reading either Lord of the Rings, or I was reading freaking comic books or Harry Potter or any book that I had my hands on. I was just antisocial and I didn't like people.
Yeah, she was just sitting in her room petting her cat.
I'm staying out of this one now. You guys can go at it. I'm just going to sit back here and eat some popcorn.
Well, I shared a room with my baby nephew, so I couldn't do much of anything, actually. So fuck my life as a teenager.
Okay.
His notebooks, things like that. What's he really scratching or drawing on his notebooks? You know, what's he doing at home? You know, is he withdrawn into himself? Is he avoiding the rest of the family?
Look into the room. Or what kind of heavy metal albums are they listening to? Is it black metal, like Venom or Slayer or King Diamond? Or is it Ozzy Osbourne? Things like this? Or Motley Crue? Also look in their room. Do they got ritual paraphernalia in their drawers or under their bed or under their mattress?
You also need to be aware of what I call spiritual hygiene. The concept that if a child is bringing home things, rock music posters, Dungeons and Dragons, little demonic
trolls.
But holy this is the same stuff that when I used to live in a small town, the Reverend, it wasn't like one of those authorized churches. It was one of those little spin-off small town churches my parents went to. They blamed my dad's bad back and all his pain from his work job on having Stephen King books in the house. So they blamed all the physical ailments my dad was suffering to put food on our table. They blamed it on Stephen King.
Yep, that sounds about right.
That's the same freaking craziness that these people are spouting. It's nonsense. It's almost infuriating for me to hear this.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. It's horrible.
Of the universe. Any of these kind of things can be used as familiar objects, and that means that they are used by Satan to say, okay, you have given me a legal doorway to come into this house. You might be a Christian, but that doesn't matter. You have an idol in your house. I can come into your house and I can assault your kids.
I had a mother call me and tell me about a 13-year-old daughter. The daughter was losing sleep and was vomiting blood. And she said this all happened after a ritual was performed on the daughter by another junior high school student. Now, I asked the mother, well, what about the child's room? Do you see anything in the room that would give you indication that she's really into this stuff? Well, she does have black candles in the room, and she has a skull, and she has heavy metal posters all over, and most of her clothing that she's been buying is all black. I told the mother...
Maybe take her to the doctor.
Huh?
If she's vomiting blood, take her to the goddamn doctor, not to your pastor.
Yeah, that would be, exactly. Sound advice.
And clean it out. Many parents don't understand that they have the right, and not only the right, but the responsibility to go into their children's room. You are not violating their privacy because their privacy belongs to you.
The parent today has...
Real quickly.
Uh-huh.
I kind of disagree with that whole, your child has no privacy and it belongs to you. I believe one of the worst things you can do to your child, and I know some people will probably disagree with me on this, is to go in there and say, well, you're my kid, therefore I can do whatever I want. And if I don't agree with you liking this band, I can tell you you're not allowed to. If I don't agree with the stuff that you bought with the money you earned from your allowance or that you were given or something like that, I can throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't agree with that. That makes a kid want to distance themselves from their parents. And as soon as they turn 18, that kid may want nothing to ever do with that parent again because the parent is doing nothing but controlling the child.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah,
so, okay. Yeah,
Sorry.
okay. That's okay. Do we want to go over a little bit on time, or do we want to do the next 8 minutes next week? Because it's almost 8 o'clock. Excuse me, 9 o'clock.
I'm feeling pretty good right now, so I could finish this off.
You want to just go ahead and finish it up? What do you think,
Yeah,
Loki?
might as well. We might as well just
All right,
finish it
chat.
off real quick.
Yeah. All right, chat. Stick with us. We're gonna finish this video. Get it done.
With their children. If they don't, this child may spend time with somebody that's very evil.
Keep track of where they're at. And if they should say, well, I'm just going to go over there to this party, say, well, fine, you can go, but I'm going to go with you.
The greatest.
Oh my God, I'd hate that so much.
Huh?
I am so happy my parents were never like this with me. If my dad was just like, oh, sure, you can go to this party, but I'm going to come to this party with you. Freaking God.
I am kind of with them on that one. I'm glad my parents are like, wait, you're going to a party? Oh my God, it's a miracle. She's getting out of the house. Yay. I mean, the thing is I don't know any teenager that goes, I'm just going to go to this party. You can't stop me. That's a mentality of you have been trying to control your child.
Right.
Education for young
Exactly. Yep.
people. That's the central theme that comes up over and over with kids. Well, I can't talk to my mom. I can't talk to my father.
Let them know right from the start. It's okay to talk to you. You know, you're not going to condone them doing things wrong. You know, but you're not going to stop loving them either.
It's no good shouting and getting mad with the kids. It is time to put your family in order.
If we don't handle this now properly in our church by teaching our Christian children where their protection lies, where their faith is, who is Satan, and where he is in position to the Christian gospel, then we are going to be rendering the next generation useless in defeating this problem, which is just escalating.
I stayed in the coven for 5 years. Now, it wasn't my choice. I was too afraid to leave. Plus the fact that however often I said to myself, I'm not going, I was drawn back.
I was thinking, I don't want to kill my firstborn. They questioned me about it, and, you know, of my group, they says, well, you know, when is it going to be born and everything? And I didn't really want to kill it, so I tried many ways to get out. I went to my high priest and I told him, I says, these are situations. And he says, I understand how you feel. And he says, I regret it. Now, because he had to do the same thing.
If you're, why don't you just go to the police about that? Somebody told me I had to kill my firstborn baby. I'm going to go to the police, not the high priest.
In Satanism, and you want to get out, you need to find a Bible-based church that has a pastor that understands the problem. You may have to search in any given community to find that pastor, but by all means, call, ask some penetrating questions. Number one, ask if they believe in the inerrancy of the Bible and the authority of the Word of God. Ask if they believe in a real devil. And then ask them if they believe that Jesus Christ died for their sins and rose again from the dead for their justification.
The minister came to see me, and he began to talk about the love of God. And I said, no, man, you don't know what I've done. I went along to this meeting because he said I should go and it would be good. And there they really talked about the love of God to set you free. He really did love me. Jesus died for me. And at that moment in me was born hope, something I hadn't had for a long time. And I thought, well, what if they're right?
I had sent in a check to the Church of Satan at one point.
Oh, yeah, the famous story.
Just to pay my yearly dues. When it came back from the bank, some lady had written on it, I'll be praying for you in the name of Jesus. And of course, I thought that was a big joke. And from that time on, my satanic power wasn't worth beans.
I went into that meeting determined to disrupt the meeting.
Can you pause it for a second?
Yeah, sure.
So I am on the Church of Satan website, and they have a one-time registration fee. I'm not seeing this yearly dues. Maybe it changed?
Well, this, okay, so this is how supposedly the story goes, and I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible. So he supposedly sent a check to the Church of Satan, and he did not have sufficient funds in there, so it bounced back to the bank. And then the bank wrote on it, I'll be praying for you in Jesus' name, and then apparently put it in an envelope and mailed it back to Bill Schnoebelen. Now, that's never, ever been what had happened in my case when I bounced a check when I was really young. But usually what had happened was I got an NSF charge, but I never received the check, a copy of the check, unless I asked for it. So I don't know. There's just so many holes in the story. First of all, who is going to risk their job defacing a check that isn't their property from a bank? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't know anybody who's gotten a check back that bounced. So, you know.
Could think But here was a message that Jesus loved me and he could change me, he could take the darkness from me. And I realized something. There was nobody, not nobody, who really loved me. Never once did I hear Satan say, and I heard him speak many times, I love you, because he doesn't love anybody.
Many disillusioned Satanists made the choice to terminate their alliance with Satan and give allegiance to Jesus Christ. Their decision, however, while ultimately liberating, was wrought with difficulties.
I mean, I had a lot of trouble going to church. I used to go into some churches and just throw up. I would go into other churches and start yelling and shouting, and I didn't know why. I really desperately wanted this new life, and I couldn't understand why I would react. I'd throw over communion trays, and people thought I was crazy, and I just ran out of those meetings.
When you're into the cult, you're really pretty happy because Satan leaves you alone, you know, because you're pretty much destroying yourself. But when you when you get out of it, that's when he really tries to bring you down. He'll use your family against you, use a lot of things against you.
Trying to be a Christian wasn't enough. I was still in bondage. Satan controlled my mind quite often. I used to have to fight not to get to psychic fairs. Particular dates, I would fight not to get to a coven somewhere.
Once you get saved and out of this kind of stuff, you gotta renounce everything that you did in your past. And in the name of Jesus, you gotta renounce everything that you did. Otherwise, you're still gonna be haunted by a lot of that stuff.
When Jesus died, he didn't just die to save you. He died to break every bondage that Satan ever put you into. Now, that was just like the best news I'd ever heard.
It's not God versus Satan. God's already won. It's a lot of people get that confused. Jesus could bring you out of the cult. He's the way to go. I would say anything you're doing with the cult, get away from. It's not. Satan's lost, and if you're with him, then you're going to be one of the losers. God is not intimidated by any of his creatures, much less a rebellious creature. God is infinite. Satan is finite. God is all powerful and all present. He's present everywhere. Satan isn't. God is greater than Satan, and his power can be tapped into by merely trusting his son. If you trust in Jesus, you then have the authority over the principalities of darkness. So if you've only been a Christian for 5 minutes, you can resist the devil. And how do you do that? Through prayer. You just say, Lord, please take this presence away from me. And what father is going to turn his back on his child when a bully's present?
All of a sudden, I was clean. And I could relate to God as my heavenly
So I'm
Father.
pretty sure.
That was very precious to me.
I'm pretty sure that from here on out, it's just people being like, I got out, and so can you, and you better not get in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure all the juicy bits of this video is already done. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, oh well, it's like, okay, we talked about people being murdered and animals slaughtered, but let's concentrate on how you can be saved. It's like,
now that we're done trying to scare the shit out of you, let's hear the part where we promised you we wouldn't talk like this. So.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, why don't they focus on like what happened with these people, like their court cases and all this other stuff? It's just, what a horrible time to have lived in. And that's the thing, is a lot of this stuff is kind of, some of it is true, but a lot of it is just bullshit. And I think that's one of the reasons why that satanic panic really took a hold, because it's like, you know, some of it, yeah, it's sort of real. But most of it is not, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So one of the reasons why I wanted to give it a little bit of time is because we had talked about the Dungeons and Dragons thing. When did we want to do that? And how would we?
I would need to get the PDF file or something, because the only Dungeons and Dragons I've played recently has been the Dungeons and Dragons MMO on Steam. So that's a live action kind of thing. So
I actually was able to recover my 3.5 and some of my 5th edition books from my portable hard drive. So I at least have the PDFs along with PDFs for the sheets, but I don't have flexible, usable sheets for the computer. You'd have to print them out and fill them out. There are some ways you can do it. I mean, I've done games like that over Skype. You would have to pretty much give out the guidelines of what you want the people to follow by and stuff like that. And
all right, well, it sounds
hard.
like,
I've done it.
Okay, all right. Well, it sounds like maybe this is a conversation we'll have to have, but offline maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we can do. We'll see. Maybe not next week, but maybe sometimes we'll work on it so that maybe we can do it, and also maybe get the chat involved too. So that would be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to all. I'm glad you could make it, Loki, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Thank you
I'm
all
alive,
so
and
much.
that's what matters.
There you go. Exactly. You're still upright and breathing.
And just as a reminder, all our information, if you guys want to check out our YouTube channels and stuff, check the description down below. Everything's in there. We are not shy. You can find us, like our videos, subscribe for me. Come on, guys.
Sounds like he's shilling.
All right. Well, all of us, I got information for all of us in there. So
cool.
We are more than just a group here. We're also individuals with our own stuff going on. So
I'm shocked. I finally hit 100, I believe. So yeah, I need to start putting more videos out. I'm just like, holy cow! I hit 100 subscribers. I gotta do shit now. Crap.
Exactly. All right, y'all. Thanks so much, and have a good night. Good
night, everybody.